So here with Jake E. Lee, the legendary Jake E. Lee, if you listen to the people on stage at Ozzy's final Back to the Beginning show. Just kind of jumping in, there's so much to discuss, so much to talk about, but talk about that gig. How did you feel playing it? And then how do you feel now knowing that Oz passed such a short time afterwards? I mean, that's a big question, but...
Yeah, break it down. Break it down. Well, it was a great week for me. It was like maybe one of the best weeks of my life. Because I came in there feeling kind of like a footnote, maybe even an almost forgotten footnote. Oh yeah, we'll throw him in there too. All right, but everybody treated me so respectfully and encouragement and support from everybody, and it made me feel special.
but that do you feel? You mentioned you felt like a footnote. Is that how you kind of felt about your time in Ozzy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, I'm not mentioned much in documentaries and things about Ozzy or at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, not a photo.
Right.
So I felt like, yeah, as I said, like a footnote.
So were you pleasantly surprised when you got the call to be a part of the show?
Yeah. When Tom called, I didn't know why. I'd never met him before, but when he called and he said, "I can't imagine doing this without you," I'm like, really? Cool, I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, if for no other reason than just to be there for Black Sabbath all original final show, I mean, I'd do it just for that. I'd go tech for somebody. You know?
I thought it was cool though that you were included. They included Rudy, who did a great job as well, having some of the OGs. But not all of them. It wasn't like Tommy Aldridge wasn't there, et cetera, et cetera. So you were
Bob Daisley,
yeah,
a huge part of Ozzy's success.
Right. So to go there and be a part of it, and now when you arrived, you said you felt kind of a little bit footnotish. When did you start realizing that, like, okay, what am I playing? What songs am I going to do? Because they made a big deal that you were there, and it was a big deal that you were there. As an Ozzy fan, having Jake E. Lee there was like, you should be there.
Was it?
I think so.
Because, you know, I had friends who said, yeah, man, it was a really big deal. And I'm like, was it? I mean,
it was.
That's what a friend would tell me.
Well,
you know,
we're friends, but I'm telling you also as a Ozzy, fan since I was 12 years old, it was like, that's awesome that Jake is there. You know, obviously Randy can't, Zach is there. You're the three kind of cornerstones of Ozzy's solo career. So I thought it was really cool that you were mentioned and that in the lineup of people that were there.
Yeah, it was fun. It was made it thrilling for me. But as I said, when I got there, I figured I'm still just, oh yeah, that's Jake. He was in the band once.
Right.
But the first rehearsal, which was the night after I arrived, at the first rehearsal, I actually got nervous, which I never do. Well, obviously I do, but and decades. I just, it's not in my nature to get nervous. What's going to happen is going to happen. Worrying about it doesn't do anything. But watching Nuno and who was up before me? Anyway, the musicians rehearsing their songs while I was standing there waiting for my turn, I started to get really nervous, which was weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird. And Frank Bello was standing next to me, and he turns to me and he says, "I can't wait to watch you." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm really nervous." And he's like, "No, you're Jake E. Lee. You could go up there and fart and we'd applaud." That made me feel, oh, okay. That's all I have to do.
Right.
But I was nervous, which, like as I said, a weird sensation for me. But once we started playing Ultimate Sin, it all kind of kicked in again, and it felt good.
It was cool too because Nuno was on stage with you, almost like to double you.
Yeah, I asked for that because I had a couple of months to prepare, but because of my wrist,
Which we'll talk about, yeah.
I practiced those 2 songs for 4 months, I think, every day. Those are the only 2. I would say, okay, let's do this song. Let's do that song. So because I needed to relearn my picking technique. I mean, we can get into that later,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
needed to relearn it. And I had picked Ultimate Sin because I knew that I could do that. I dun, dun, dun. Oh, yeah, I can do that. And then, but I forgot how hard the solo is.
Yeah.
And
I'm doing the Jake E. Lee, man.
I'm doing the solo, and I'm like, oh, shit. I don't know if I can pull this off.
Yeah.
Some days I'd pick the guitar up and, yeah, I can do it. But then there'd be other days where I sounded like Nicky Sixx playing bass. So I was a little bit worried about that, and I told Tom, and he said, well, Nuno's going to be there. I said, great, can you have him learn the solo? And he says, I'll ask. And then I got a text from Nuno, and he was so cool. He said, I will learn your solo, as difficult as it's going to be. He says, I will learn it, but I'm not taking it from you. Said, why don't we both do the solo?
That's great.
And it could come across as twice as good. I said, yeah, what a bro thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's how that came about. And I assumed he was going to play on Shot in the Dark also. But at rehearsal, he walked away. I'm like, wait a minute. I got no backup here. I got no other guitar player.
Yeah.
I looked at Scott Ian. I was like, are you playing this? He's like, I was like, shit. But that song's reasonably simple.
Not the same. Yeah.
And yeah, I was able to pull that off.
Where were you at the beginning? They were waiting for you to come on stage.
That whole
Where's
thing,
Jake? Calling Jake.
That whole thing. That was a bit. That was a setup.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know about it. I was I had my guitar warming up in the dressing room. Then I came down to the stage area, and they said, "Okay, hold up, we're not ready for you." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I need to tune the guitar. I think it's out of tune." They said, "No, you'll be able to go out there in a minute." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm sitting around waiting. I don't see anybody else in the band.
Right.
I'm like, "Where's everybody else?" I said, "Oh, they're doing other things." I'm like, "Doing what?" I said, "I really need to tune my guitar," and they said, "No, we'll be ready in a minute." And the side area, you can't hear really. You can only hear a rumble, when the bass and drums are playing. You don't really hear the speakers are facing towards the crowd, and the side area. You have to be able to talk each other. All these technicians, so I couldn't hear the PA, and I didn't hear that whole "Where's Jake? Has anybody seen Jake E. Lee?" thing. And I'm still standing there going, "Can I go out there now?" And finally, the handler said, "Yes, you can go out." She guided me to stage right, and I said, "No, I'm on stage left." And she said, "No, you have to go on this way." So I'm all frustrated. I walk out, and all of a sudden, there's these people chanting in the front, "Jake, Jake, Jake." I'm like, huh, that's weird. I look over at Nuno and Lizzie, and they're doing the "We're Not Worthy" thing. I'm like, oh, it's so sweet that I didn't even know about the "Where's Jake?"
Gotcha.
until after somebody told me. And but yeah, oh man, that was such a good moment. That and then Nuno grabbing me and giving me a kiss on the cheek. It was maybe the highlight of my professional career. That moment, and hearing the people in front saying "Jake," and it was cool.
I can see it being extra special for you because going back to what you said before, feeling like a footnote, and then you go and realize you have influenced a lot of people. Even if you don't realize it, but you've influenced them on stage, the people in the crowd. I would think that probably made you feel pretty, like you mentioned, pretty cool.
Yeah, I felt it was nice. It was really nice. It was really nice. And I wish I could have backed that up with a guitar that was in tune, but I didn't have time. I was like, oh, this is so cool, it's so cool. And I'm plugging in, I better make sure I'm in tune. And then all of a sudden the song starts. I'm like, oh, shit. All right. So I was a little out of tune, but whatever. And then I was for Shot in the Dark, too, but that had nothing to do with me. I was handed the guitar, which I assumed was tuned, and it wasn't. So I do know some people who say, well, you can't tune? Circumstances.
If people only knew the stuff that we go through to get on stage, like you mentioned, like a tuned guitar would seem obvious, but it's not.
No, there's because I didn't have a personal tech, so I'm just using the people that are there, and they're kind of figuring it out as it goes along.
Right.
There's a lot of bands, a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
It's like that, and
quick turnover too.
Yeah. So I think we did really well considering.
No, I agree. Did you think it was going to be as big as it was, especially being there and seeing just the love for Ozzy and just the whole? It was one of the biggest and best shows probably in rock and roll history.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be pretty big. I mean, just as a fan, Sabbath's last gig together, Ozzy Osbourne's last gig. That's huge. And then throw on top of that Metallica and Slayer and all these other bands that are, I knew it was going to be pretty big. It was still, I hadn't played to an audience that big decades.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. That was kind of thrilling for the moment that I looked out at them. After that, I was all concentrating. I was just looking at my guitar. Don't move too much, you might trip. So,
did you get a chance to see Ozzy and Sharon at all?
I did.
How was that?
It was great.
That's cool.
It was Tuesday we had rehearsals. Wednesday there was rehearsals for the rest of the 100 musicians or so.
Yeah.
Thursday was the photo shoot, and that's where everybody gets together in one room, and Ross would take whatever photos he had set up. But that's where I just stand. I'm kind of like standing off to the side, still feeling kind of like, nobody's gonna bother with me.
Yeah.
And then Sharon came up and she just looked at me and put my face in her hand and said, Jake E, and then gave me a big hug, and so I knew we were cool.
Yeah.
And then she said, Ozzy really wants to talk to you. And she went up and like kind of scooted away, because Ozzy's always surrounded, And kind of scooted away, and I came up, and Ozzy and I got to talk for a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, and it was all good. He thanked me. He said, "Thank you for showing up. You're making this really special." I said, "Oh no, thank you for asking me. And by the way, thank you for everything you've done for me." And then we just chatted up a little bit about our kids and things like that. And then it was time to do the photo shoot. And then Ozzy said, "We'll talk more later." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So yeah, it was really good. It was cathartic.
Yes.
I had always hoped to see Ozzy one more time. My friends know that. They're like, "How do you feel about Ozzy? You pissed off?" Or, well, no, I'm not pissed off. I've never been pissed off, unhappy about certain situations, but I've never been pissed off at either one of them. But I would really like to just one-on-one talk to Ozzy one more time, and I was lucky I got to do that.
It's heartwarming as a fan too, and cathartic as well. Like it should be that way. You guys created some pretty great, amazing music that lives forever. So I'm glad you got that moment.
Yeah.
To see him and talk with him.
No, I'd hate for him to think that I held some kind of grudge, and I'm glad that he didn't feel that way towards me either.
Well, then he even texted you afterwards as well.
Yeah. Sharon came up to me during the dinner at the night of the show, and she came up to me and she found me and she gave me a couple of passes to get into a special area, and she said after the show Ozzy's going to be in this area. He really wants to talk to you again. And I said, okay. And she goes, no, try to make it. And then she bent over and whispered in my ear, he doesn't have long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was kind of,
Oh, wow.
not eerie, but kind of, oh, shit, this is serious.
Yeah.
Because when I saw him, he looked frail. He didn't look like he was on death's door. But apparently he was, and Sharon knew. And so, yeah, after the show, I went to the place, the special place, and I saw Ozzy, and he was surrounded. He was just engulfed with people, and I could tell by his face he wasn't particularly thrilled about it. And so I said, I'm not going to walk up and be one more trying to talk in his ear. I said, I'll talk to him later. And but I didn't see him after that. And so on the way, I did text him the next day. Did I text him or? No, I texted Sharon because I didn't have Ozzy's number yet. I texted Sharon and said, I explained what I saw. And I said, but you know, if ever there's another chance, I'd love to sit down with Ozzy. And then I got a text from Ozzy. I assume, you know, I know there's people that go, oh yeah, sure, that's Ozzy. It's got to be.
You can tell if you know Oz at all by that text and like the lack of capitals and punctuation. I think it was pretty much him because if it was somebody else doing it.
And who else was it?
Right.
If not him.
Yeah.
Who has my number.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he texted and said that, sorry that we didn't get to talk. He'd love to see me once he gets back to L.A., if I can drive down there, and we could sit around for a couple hours and catch up. And I thought, that'd be awesome. And so I waited for them to get back to L.A., and they never did. You know.
How did you feel when you found out that Oz had passed?
In disbelief, you know, as I'm sure most fans were. I was like, no, that's not right. This isn't right. And then I kept checking and checking. They all kept saying the same thing. And I was like, Ozzy doesn't die.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
He's been around since I first started listening to rock when I was 12. Black Sabbath there. First album came out. And I was, He's been a part of my life since I was 12. And then a much bigger part, you know, in my 20s. And he's just one of those he can't die.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was weird. It took me a while to actually. It still does. I'll walk by my refrigerator, which has a back to the beginning poster on it with a picture of Sabbath and Ozzy. And I'll walk by and look at him like, no, he's dead. Dead's probably a bad word. He's
gone.
That's not a whole lot better.
He's not around right now.
he's passed on.
Yeah.
So he's still out there somewhere, you know, in the atmosphere, in the universe, I like to think.
Well, let's talk about you mentioned being a Sabbath fan and then ended up working with Oz. You had the toughest gig out of all of Ozzy's guitar players. Randy's the original. Zach comes in to replace you. You have to replace
a legend.
And even at that time, one of the greatest guitar players who ever graced the face of the earth, and you're the next one. How did that come into play where you even got into a room to audition for the gig in the first place?
Dana Strum, who found Randy, Ozzy called him and said, I need another guitar player. So Dana checked out all the bands and saw what he thought were the 10 best guitar players. And we all went into a studio, and he took our photo and then said, play something. I'm like, play what? He goes, whatever you want. So I just doodled for like a minute and a half or something, and I go, great. I'm like, okay. And they sent all those to Sharon and Ozzy, and then he picked 3 out of that: Mitch Perry, me, not George.
George Lynch was one of the auditions.
But yeah, from what I understand, is that he was originally offered the gig before Randy.
Wow.
And George, told his management, and they said, and it's not bad advice. They said, Ozzy's a drunk.
Yeah. At the time, yeah.
He got kicked out of his last band. He's going nowhere. Dokken is about to hit big, right?
Yeah, right.
And so George declined, and then Randy got it. And it makes sense. George was one of the hotshot guitar players in town. Yeah. I remember before I moved up from San Diego, I went up to Hollywood because you had Eddie Van Halen, then you had Randy Rhoads. I'm like, oh my God, are they just all awesome guitar players up there?
Yeah.
So I went up there and checked them all out, and George was one of the ones I was told to check out. And nothing against George, but I saw him and went, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was always considered one of the top dogs in Hollywood.
So it's you, Mitch Perry, somebody else, and then
And George was already touring. Well,
Gotcha.
He was on tour. He wasn't on stage, but he was doing sound checks and stuff with the band. But
with Ozzy. Oh, he
Yeah.
went on the road with Ozzy. Okay.
yeah. Brad Gillis was still playing, but Brad was about to leave, and so they brought George out so he could learn the songs and get accustomed to it. And but Ozzy wasn't convinced, so he had these 3 guys that were Dana's picks. And the 3 of us auditioned live at SIR, I think. I didn't think I was going to get the gig, but I said, I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right? I show up late. I show up late because Wendy Dio tried to prevent me from going to the audition. She heard about it, and all my gear was in Rough Cut's storage locker. Which I had a key to. And so I went down there, and then there's one of our roadies, call him roadie because that's what you called him at the time, was there, a big guy. And he said, Wendy said you can't take anything. I need my stuff, and it's my stuff. I bought it. It doesn't belong to her. And he said, well, Wendy says you can't have it. I said, what do you mean? Do you know why? He said, I heard. Anyway, I had to talk to this guy for about 15 to 20 minutes. To finally convince him, are you going to be the guy that stopped me from auditioning for Ozzy Osbourne? Is that what you want to be? And, finally he said, all right, but I can't help you. So I had to lug my shit out and throw it in the car. And when I got to the audition, I was late. All right. And according to Sharon, my whole attitude after that helped me get the gig because she said, you're late. We just about walked out. I said, well, I'm here now. Do you want me to play or not? Right? Which I didn't know that much about Sharon. I might not have put it that way. And she went, yeah, okay, go ahead and play. So I went up there and played. And I kind of messed the songs up because Crazy Train and I Don't Know. You could swap parts in those two songs.
Yep, good point.
You could put this part here and there. And I did, because I just learned them the night before. So I was kind of screwing up, and I went, all right, yeah, I'm not getting this. And then it looked like a janitor came up to sing. I was like, huh, all right, I guess I want to see what it sounds like with vocals, whatever. Because he had a shaved head, right? Well, it was like really short.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was Ozzy because he was wearing an orange jumpsuit. I thought it was like a janitor or something. He was just up there for props, whatever. And then he started singing. I was like, oh, shit, that's Ozzy. Because I didn't know he'd cut his hair.
Right.
It was before the internet and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it was Ozzy. And then afterwards, he just kind of, like that, walked over to Sharon. And then Sharon asked, can you do a solo? And I went, you mean like Eruption or something like that? And she went, yeah, could you do that? I said, yeah, if I worked one out. I don't have anything prepared, and I'm not going to do it because I already have the songs on, right? Which is more the attitude that later Sharon said, hey, you said you couldn't do it, you didn't want to embarrass yourself, and you said no. I like that. Right? But so I'm packing my gear up, and George walks in. He's like, hey, everybody. I went, hi. And I'm about to introduce myself because I hadn't met him before that. And then Ozzy came up, and looks at me and goes, "You want the gig?" "Huh? Do you want the gig?" And I went, "Yeah." And he turned to George and said, "He's got it. You don't. You're fired." Right?
Wow.
Which was brutal.
Oh, yeah. Awkward.
So, yeah. And then he walks away. And I'm looking at George. My hand is still kind of out because I was going to. I said, "I'm Jake." And he didn't shake my hand. He just looked,
I'm sure.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's how I got the gig.
How did you approach Randy's solos? Because obviously you mentioned you knew how good he was, how creative he was. Did you play them note for note?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. I'd throw a flourish in if I felt like I would have done this.
Mm-hmm.
Not the whole solo. I wouldn't say I would have played the solo this way. I used his as a guide and played it, I'd say 85% the way he played it. But then if I felt like, ooh, I want to throw this in, then I would throw it in. But I remained as faithful as I could, I think, to his solos.
As you should, yeah.
Because, Randy Rhoads.
Doesn't get any better, yeah. So did you go on the road first, or did you guys record the record first?
Oh, no, we went on the road. I think it was like a week after that. They said, okay, we have a tour opening for Whitesnake, I remember.
Oh, wow. It's interesting.
And Whitesnake, they weren't in America. This is way before Still in the Night.
Yeah, right.
I'd heard of them, but so we're opening for Whitesnake. I said, yeah, you got to get over here. And I didn't have a passport, so I had to go through all that stuff. But yeah, for a little bit, I was thinking, did I join the wrong Ozzy Osbourne band? Is there two? Yeah. Is there one that opens for this band called Whitesnake? So then I flew over there, and I think we rehearsed for 2 days. I had to learn a bunch of Sabbath because it was still touring off the Speak of the Devil album. And it couldn't bring my own gear. I didn't have my own guitar with me. That was coming over later, so it was all rented gear and a terrible sound. But we rehearsed for 2 days. And one day, when during rehearsal, they went to the pub, and I stayed behind to try and get a good sound out of this crap that I had. And then I see this figure in the doorway, leaned up against it like this. I'm looking, and I go, "You're Lemmy," right? He doesn't say anything. He's just standing there all cool and shit, and he's got a bottle of vodka in his hand. So I walk over all excited. Hi, my name's Jake. I just joined Ozzy. And he's still just standing like this, looking me up and down, and goes, "I don't know whether to fight you or..." Right? and so I stopped, and I look at him and said, "Well, whichever way it goes, can I take a hit off that vodka first?" And he smiled and he said, "Oh, I like you." And so we got drunk together. But that was, first words out of Lemmy's mouth to me were those.
So what was that like for you as this kid? You're going on the road now, like you mentioned, opening for Whitesnake, but you're still in a huge rock and roll band with Ozzy, who's world renowned for being completely nuts and crazy.
Yeah, it was... Well, like I said, I don't get nervous. I didn't get nervous about that. It is what it is. The first gig was horrible. It was in Sweden, I think, maybe Finland, whatever. And I walked out, and the guy that had been assigned my guitar tech, where's whatever his name was? And they said, "Oh, he quit." I went, "Oh, okay." And we didn't even get a sound check, which I thought was weird. So I came out, really, and my guitar's way out of tune. And somebody, the monitor guy, Brian, came over and said, "We've got the wrong cabinet mic'd or something. You're not coming through." And I went, "Oh, okay." So then they do all this other stuff. They plug it into another cabinet, mic it up, and then it's time to go. So we do that, and there's nothing coming out of the guitar, right? I'm like, what's going on? I'm just looking over, and they realized the cabinet they plugged in was a dummy cab. Oh. So during the song, they had to go over, switch it over to the cabinet, mic it back up. So everybody's kind of looking at me, and there's Brad Gillis signs up, right? I'm like, oh shit. And there's no guitar. I remember the song was I Don't Know, and it's like just boom, ba-dum, bum, bum. No guitar. Ozzy's singing, but he's looking at me like, what's going on? I said, I don't know. Which, song you're playing.
What's the song you're playing? Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally they plugged it all into the right, and then I come blasting out. And then all of a sudden it's bang! and the guitar was still out of tune, and it was just, it was a bad show. It was I was sure I was fired.
Mm-hmm.
I came walking off the stage like, oh shit, here comes Ozzy, right? And he came over and put his arm around me. He said, well, it's only going to get better after this, right? And I was like, yeah. Oh, thank you. Because he could have smoked me at that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were opening for Whitesnake, and that was cool. I got to meet the guys, and it was fun.
Was Ozzy as much of a lunatic as we always heard?
Not in Europe, not really. I mean, I didn't see him that much. When every chance I got, I was in my room, making sure I knew the songs and shit. So I'd only see him really at the gigs. So he might have been nuts, but I wasn't witness to it. He didn't seem like he was until we got to America.
Oh, then he went crazy there?
He went crazy where else I was around more, But yeah, he was, that was probably the wildest time period for him, and who can blame him, Randy dies tragically.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that Sharon, they could have just canceled shows and said, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But Sharon said, no, if we cancel the shows, he's going to end up killing himself, drink himself to death or something. Right. So she wisely kept the train moving. And, but yeah, he could drink.
Yeah. The story, the famous snorting ants story, you were there, and did it happen? Did it not happen?
I have my version of it, which people hate and call me a liar, and that, no, my cousin's best friend was there and he saw it. I'm like, yeah, sure he was. But anyway, yes, I was there. And I'm not going to say my version because who am I to? It's such a legendary story
at this
now
point, right? Yeah.
For me to poke holes in it and say, well, it's not exactly like that. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about making Bark at the Moon and just how, it's a great record. And once again, you're following two of the greatest rock records of all time in Diary and Blizzard. What was your approach when you guys started writing the music for it?
I didn't think about it. Because if I thought about it, I would have felt all that weight on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be productive. So I just didn't think about it. Just every day I'd wake up and say, okay, got to write something, and Daisley was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd present him ideas, Bark at the Moon. I had the riff, which was the verse, and then I had the chorus part. And to me, that was a song. Mm-hmm. Think about Hollywood back then. Verse, chorus, verse, chorus, solo over the verse, double chorus out. There, you got a song.
Yeah.
Right? And, you look at Motley Crue, Rat, Dokken. That's quite right. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And so I showed him that, and he said, I like it. It could use a little something extra. I go, huh, okay. And then he came up with the bridge, the F sharp part, the da 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 da. Came up with that to separate the verse from the chorus. I was like, oh shit, that works really good. and so we would do it that way. Basically, all my songs were verse, chorus, right? And then he would come up with all the other pieces that made it so much better. Bark at the Moon, it would have been a song, I'm sure, because I would have been in some band that got signed because everybody got signed in Hollywood after that. I would have been in some band, that would have been a song, but it would have been not as awesome as it turned out to be. And that's because of Daisley. And Ozzy to a certain extent. Ozzy's idea was the middle eight. He says it needs to go to a halftime, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
So he had that rhythm that he wanted, and then Daisley and I wrote around that. And it became so much more than just a pop song, which is basically what the formula was back then for metal, was pop metal. It became so much more, and that's so much of that is Daisley. And I can listen to the first two records now, Diary and Blizzard, and I can hear that's Daisley there. I mean, I know everybody, and I'm not trying to bring Randy down. Yeah. Everybody thinks Randy wrote all the music. Daisley just wrote lyrics. No, Daisley had a huge part to do with the music. I can hear it when I listen to those. Oh, he wrote that part. Oh, he made sure that part was in there. And that's taking nothing away from Randy, because I'm tired of that hate from Randy's fans. I love Randy. He's an awesome guitar player. But Daisley, I think, doesn't get as much credit for the music as he deserves.
Well, I just read Bob's book and speaking with you before, and one thing that I saw, and we don't have to get too deep in the weeds, but it says all songs written by Ozzy Osbourne, which of course, I'm like, there's no way Ozzy's playing. Even when I was 14 years old, I couldn't imagine Ozzy going, bam, bam, down, down. Like, there's no way he wrote this. Was that part of the job? Like, you sign up and you write the songs and...
It wasn't when I signed up for it.
Yeah.
It became that. It was... I don't want to dive too far.
No, I don't want to either.
But I figured that, okay, it's going to say all songs written by... Nobody's going to believe that. Anybody's familiar with Ozzy knows he didn't do that. And I said, so, I'll still get some cred out of this. So it didn't bother me that much. I know one part of the contract was that I could never publicly discuss how I'd written anything on there.
Oh, wow.
But once the album was out, first interview I did, I wrote it. Not like I wrote the whole album, but I wrote. And he said, but it didn't say so. And who are you going to believe? And because I figured by then I was on the album, tour was being set up. Were they going to fire me because I opened my mouth to say something that was obvious?
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Talk about Ozzy's stage presence. It's funny because there's a clip going around of you doing a solo. Ozzy just comes over and just pulls your hair, which led to us trying this at the Golden Tiki last time we were hanging out, where people were looking in the corner. You go, I got strong hair, you can pull it. So I'm pulling your hair, and people are looking over, they're thinking that we're in a fight because I'm pulling your hair, and you're like, pull it harder. But he came over and just pulls your hair right down. Like, was that something that was kind of rehearsed, or you just didn't know what to expect with him being Ozzy?
No, it wasn't rehearsed. At one point, because initially, and I think throughout the rest of it, he would put one hand behind me like this, and then this other one, and it would all be, he kind of guide my head. He wouldn't yank too hard. And then after the first time he did it, he said, is that okay? I went, I don't know what it is about. I have no nerve endings or something in my scalp, because I don't understand when people go, ow. I'm like, that doesn't hurt. So it didn't hurt. And I said, no, you can go ahead and yank hard. And so he'd do a little harder each show, and he'd still come up and that didn't hurt? I went, no. Have at it. It wasn't anything planned, but it built from just a little into what it became. And it never hurt. I know there's people that say, I'd never let him do that. Well, if you had my scalp, you would, because it doesn't hurt.
Well, you had great stage presence, too. Like, you were very much a great counterpart for Ozzy. Maybe probably more so than Randy, even, I would say.
I've never really seen shows with Randy, and I've seen little clips.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I do remember that Sharon came up to me and said, you and Ozzy need to interact and stuff. And she said, Randy, there was one point where Ozzy would chase Randy, and Randy would run, and can you do that? And I said, well, you just said Randy did that, and I don't feel like running away from something. I said, that's just not me. And I said, well, we'll figure something out. But my stage presence, it developed. It came right away. because I've been used to playing smaller stages, you know, in Hollywood, and I kind of move around a little bit, but not like I ended up in Ozzy, and that was, see, I wish I'd have thanked him for that. Being in Ozzy made me maybe not better, but a more active stage persona and guitar playing. Those are two things now that I wish I had told Ozzy, and which I planned on telling him, was thank you for making. I became a better guitar player. I mean, by leaps and bounds. I was good. You know, in Hollywood, I was considered top tier. I was good. Once I joined Ozzy, and I was handed all that, I got a lot better. You know, I knew I had to. And so I became a much better guitar player and better stage presence because of Ozzy. And like I said, I wish I could have thanked him for that.
You do the Ultimate Sin record, which is one of my favorites, and then that's the end of the line for you in Ozzy's band. What was the reason, or why did you end up leaving?
Ozzy said it was time for me to spread my wings and get my own thing going. I'm like, oh, okay. That's what he told me. And Sharon told me that, you know, there are certain members in the band that you're rubbing the wrong way. Right? And I know those members was Phil and the keyboard player, John Sinclair. This all seems so petty now.
Right, yeah.
I like to, rock and roll to me is a nighttime thing. Always has been. You know, when you gig, it's at night, especially if you're in a bar band. It's till the early morning hours. And rock and roll always just felt like a nighttime thing. And I like to rehearse at night. I like to write songs at night. That's how I do it. That's how we did it with Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin, and then we're coming up with a new record, and I'm like, we'll rehearse at night. And I know Phil in particular is, why can't we do it during the day? Like, because I don't like the day. Shut up. Who are you? You know. But he said, no, but there's all these great parties that happen at night. And it'd be, you know, I've never been to Hollywood. It'd be so great to go to these parties. I said, yeah, well, we're working. And I work at night. So, you know, sorry about your parties. And we were not particularly good at that point.
Gotcha.
I don't know what Phil said to Sharon and Ozzy. But I saw Randy a couple months after that.
The drummer, Randy Castillo, yeah.
At the Rainbow, and he came up and said, Jake, I'm so sorry. He said, it was Phil. He told me it was Phil. He said Phil wanted to be the main songwriter. I was dead against it. Because Randy was a good guy. I don't know if you ever met him.
I never did. No, he's passed.
He was a good man. Yeah. And he got the gig because, okay, I'll make this as quick as possible. When we were looking for a drummer for Ultimate Sin, we were at Mates, I think, rehearsal studios in L.A. and had like a open audition, cattle call. And at the end of it all, Ozzy, Bob, and I all picked different drummers. And I said, oh, well, shit, that's weird. Then we went to England, and Ozzy, because it's Ozzy Osbourne band, brought his choice over, which was Fred Curry from Cinderella. And he brought him over. And Fred was good some days, and then some days he was just worthless. I don't know what it was, if it was nerves or whatever. And then Ozzy would yell at him, like, oh, you can't play drums. Why in the hell did I spend my money bringing you over here, blah, blah, blah. And then so he went back home. And then Daisley's choice was Jimmy Del Grasso, who technically, right, brought him over. And Ozzy said he didn't hit hard enough, which, you know, he probably didn't. He was very technical.
Right.
And, you know, he could do all that shit, but Ozzy kept him, hit harder, hit hard. You hit like a girl, you know. And so off he went. And then Sharon and Ozzy and Bob and me were all sitting around. Well, now what are we going to do? What about my choice? And Randy was in a cast. I had a leg cast on when he auditioned, but I could still. And there's not him. I mean, what are you thinking? No, we're not bringing him over. And I said, no, I could feel it. Mm-hmm. He has this feel. I could feel it. And he said, his leg was broken. I know. Imagine how much better he'll be without it. And so finally, I went up to Sharon. I said, look, fly him over, put him in a hotel room. If he doesn't work out, take it out of my paycheck. Won't cost you a penny. But I'm certain he's the guy. She's like, okay. Brought him over. He was the guy. Now, I wasn't going to tell him that I did that, but Sharon told him. Sharon told him, you're only over here because Jake. And you're only in the band now because of Jake. And then Randy came up and said, I owe you. I owe you for the rest of my life. Thank you. I said, yeah, that's cool. So I know he had nothing to do. Full circle. Right. I know he had nothing to do with me getting fired. Even though I think Ozzy at one point in some interview said it was Randy, the drummer, doing that. I think he's just confused as to who it was.
Well, there's so much that we can discuss, but I want to talk about, you mentioned earlier about your wrist, and we saw earlier the results of this assassination attempt.
Oh, yeah, you got to see the scar.
The bullet holes. Yeah, let's talk about the night that you got shot and almost died.
Weird night.
I'd say so.
Yeah, and so unnecessary. Probably on both sides. But yeah, I was walking my dog. It's, 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, something like that. Because it was middle October and last year was hot. It was still, like 80 degrees at night at 3 in the morning. So that's when I walk my dog. That's when we always go for walks. It's cooler, quiet, usually. We were walking, and I saw these two guys in the driveway, hoodies pulled down, checking out this motorcycle that was in my neighbor's driveway. So I walk up, and they see me, and they go, oh, shit. And they start walking down the street real fast, but they're walking the same direction I'm going towards my house. So I'm going that way, and I'm walking my 85-pound pit bull, right? I'm still walking, and they keep looking over their shoulders, and eventually they think I'm following them when I'm really just going home. Finally, they turn around, and they got flashlights in my eyes. And they said, you need to turn around and get the f*** out of here. I'm like, you need to turn around and this is my neighborhood. You don't belong here. Right? I'm like, oh, yeah? And then there's a bunch of that. And I could tell they're kids. Yeah. And they're scrawny, and I'm not scared of them. Plus, I got my dog.
Yeah.
I can see it's going nowhere. And I go, look, I'm going that way. Why don't you go that way? We'll call it a night. I didn't say anything, but all right, I'll start walking. I'm walking. And I look over and to see if, they're walking. And one guy's just standing there staring at me. And he said, that's it. Keep walking, bitch. Right? And that pissed me off. I turned around like, punk. Then I heard gunfire.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see a gun before that. Obviously, I probably would have spoken differently if I'd known there was a gun involved.
Yeah.
At first I saw flashes. Flashes was the first thing I saw. And then I could hear the shot, and I could hear the bullets whistling by. And I thought, well, that's weird. I hear the bullets over there. And then I look down, and I see my dog's right there. Right? I thought, they're trying to shoot my dog. So I throw a leash at him and say, go home. Right? He's glad to, and I watch him. And he keeps firing after my dog. And
damn.
Thankfully, my dog didn't get it. Because
that's terrible, yeah.
That would have killed me there.
Yeah.
But after he found out he couldn't hit the dog, that's when I noticed a burning in my forearm. I was like, oh shit, I must have got skimmed. And then next thing I felt was like somebody hit me in the back, like that. So I figure, okay, it's time to run. So I start trying to run, and then I got hit in the foot from the heel.
Gosh, man.
came in at the heel, came out just before the big toe, right? And that one felt weird. That one felt like I stepped on a vibrator, right? None of the shots hurt, which is interesting to me. This just felt like a burn. The one in the back felt like a
push, yeah.
Yeah. And the one in the foot felt like if you barefoot stepped onto a vibrator, right? I got that kind of sensation. Not pain, just weird feeling. But then I fell to the ground. And, as I was on the ground, I just thinking, did that just happen? This is weird. This is surreal. Then shit started to hurt. Then the pain started coming, and I realized I had to call 911.
You were able to call?
Yeah.
Using your phone? Wow.
Yeah. Getting shot wasn't lucky, but everything about it ended up being lucky. The one in the forearm was through and through, but it didn't hit any veins. It didn't hit the bone. It just went through the muscle, didn't tear it up or anything. So that healed pretty quickly. So that was lucky because the back of my hand was numb for about 3 weeks, which was just weird. But that came back. What was I saying? Lucky. The one in the back, you saw that.
Yeah.
This far from the spine.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because when the cops showed up, they pulled my shirt up. They said, "Can you move your legs?" I went, "Yeah." And then paramedics showed up. "Can you move your legs?" "Yeah." I get to the ER. Doctor says, "Can you move your legs?" I went, "Yeah. Ever since I was a baby. What's the big deal?" Right? Why does everybody keep asking me that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I didn't know until I got home from the hospital. My daughter was redressing the wound. She went, "Oh my God, Dad." I was like, "You take a photo and show me so I can see what the big fuss." And I went, "Oh God."
Yeah.
It was so close to the spine. But it didn't. It broke a couple ribs, punctured my lung. But that's all healable, you know. So that was lucky. And then the one in the foot came in at the heel, and the doctor said it would have gone all the way through and probably blown a couple toes off. But I have a titanium heel because I had shattered it like 18 years earlier. So it's titanium. So the bullet hit the titanium, ricocheted up, and so I have all my toes. All of that's lucky. That night, I had my phone in my shirt pocket, which I never do. I always put it in my pants pocket. That night, for whatever reason, I put it in my shirt pocket. I fell on the ground, and I realized, I can't really move. I went, my phone's right here.
It's right there, yeah.
It's right here. So I was able to call 911. So, a bunch of lucky things happened other than getting shot.
What's up with your wrist then? Is that another?
That was previous. That's
okay.
That's arthritis.
Gotcha.
I went to a wrist specialist eventually, and they took X-rays, and she said, "Yeah, you don't have any cartilage left." I said, "None?" She goes, "No. Every time you move your wrist, it's bone on bone, and that's not going to feel good." And I said, "Yeah, I know it doesn't feel good." And she, your left one has arthritis too, but you still have some cartilage, so it's not as bad. So she gave me a steroid shot,
Gotcha.
and I went to a physical therapy where they build up the muscles, make sure they're stretched, and it's not as bad. It used to be I couldn't open doors. That would hurt. Pick up a drink with my right hand. I'd tried and learn everything left-handed.
Yeah.
So with the physical therapy, it helped a lot. And it used to be I'd wake up and it hurt, right? Now it doesn't really hurt. I get some discomfort.
Gotcha.
After I play guitar for a couple hours, which I do every day, I play guitar. I get some discomfort, but not a lot, just enough to help guide me towards retraining my right hand on how to pick, which always used to be, I can't even do it, always used to be wrist. It was all wrist action. So now I got to push that over to like lots of elbow and then some finger, like really fast stuff. I'll just like that and then bring it over with them. So it's retraining it, which It's interesting.
Let's go back to the gunshots. So did they ever catch the guys that shot you?
They did.
They did. Wow, that's great.
It was, well, I became friends with one of the detectives. No, I'm not. I was going to say his name, give him a shout out, but I don't know.
Shout out to the detective.
Because, he said, I shouldn't be telling you this, but, you know. They caught the guys 2 weeks after the shooting. And he had told me it's because it got news nationally, internationally.
Because of who you are, too.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
For a couple of days it did. And the mayor's office and everybody, city council and stuff was like, oh, this looks really bad. You know, a guy can't walk his dog without getting shot in Vegas.
Yeah, he was also a famous guitar player as well.
Yeah, we need to solve this. We need to solve this. So they had more resources available
makes sense,
than they normally would. And they caught the guys, and the guys had been, the gun was tied to 2 previous murders. He'd already killed 2 guys. So, I have no doubt he was trying to kill me. I think he just got a taste for it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Terrible shot.
Thankfully, he didn't
like
spend too
Pulp
much time at the range. But 2 murders and attempted murder. So
did you get a lot of people reaching out to you after that happened? Like old friends and stuff?
Yeah, old friends and a lot of fans on the Red Dragon Cartel page.
Yeah.
It was nice.
That's
nice.
cool.
They got caught. Oh, funny aside. Well, it's not funny, but interesting. When I was talking to the DA and I told the whole story, I said, they had flashlights pointing in my eyes. And she said, we didn't find any flashlights. I said, but they had lights on their guns.
Oh, shit.
And I was thinking about them.
They were pointing
I thought they were like this, right? But they're
like
pointing their guns at my face that whole time, right?
Wow.
I didn't know that. I couldn't see the gun. All I saw was the light. And I was probably able to walk away because they were like, what the f with this guy? This guy's got balls. He's crazy. Like, that's probably why I was able to walk away.
I used to work for Sharon Osbourne. This is nothing. As we start to wind down, one of the greatest guitar solos of all time, Bark at the Moon.
Thanks.
Talk about that. Did you structure it? Did you just wing it? Like it's still to this day such a beautifully written, composed, and well-played solo.
I like that solo. Hard to play. I can't quite do it yet. I practice it. That's one of my goals right now, to be able to
get back
play
to that,
Bark at the Moon.
Nuno nailed it at the show.
Oh, yeah, he did. He did. There's a video somebody took of me standing in front of the big screen, and then he does a solo and turn around.
Yeah, that's cool. So talk about the
Bark
solo.
at the Moon. I had, in the first solo, I had the end solo worked out.
That's a great tune.
I had that. And I had the end of the first solo, the runs up, fast runs up. I had that worked out. The first part, I had something completely different in mind. It was more melodic, more kind of haunting. I'm not going to try and sing it, but it was like a haunting melodic thing. And I was trying to do it in the studio, and Max Norman was like, that's not working. I'm like, it doesn't seem to, but I know, I hear it in my head. It'll work. And I kept trying to do it, trying different things. I'm like, it's just not working. Then Ozzy came in and he said, let me hear it. And he said, what's that? And I said, it's in my head. I can hear it. It's going to be beautiful. And he said, just go out and jam. And I went, jam? He goes, yeah, just go out there and play something. Fine, I'll go out and play something. I just sort of, I just riffed out and jammed, and he went, that's a lot better. He said, that's more like it. I went, really? I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just riffing. He goes, yeah, just try a couple more. I tried a couple more, and I still wasn't convinced. To me, it was just, I hear me jam all the time.
Right.
And so it was just me jamming, nothing special about it. I think we used the second take, and I just, acquiesced. I said, yeah, all right, if you think that's best. Turns out it was.
Yeah.
It was. And just because I didn't have to hear me jamming doesn't mean that it wouldn't be new to everybody else, which is something I didn't think about. But yeah, that's how that came out.
Last few things. What's your favorite song that you did? Is there a song that stands out on the 2 records that you played with Ozzy? That's
Yeah, Killer of Giants.
that's great.
Killer of Giants, I think, because it's so. I played classical piano from the time I was 6 until I was 14, and my mom listened to classical music all the time. So I had this whole classical background, and I think it all came together for Killer of Giants because I thought of it as more orchestral. The beginning, the whole, and how it does this part, and it goes to another part, never going back to the first part.
Oh, right.
It goes to the next part, goes to the next part. It does that about 4 or 5 times where it just moves on to another part and doesn't play any of the previous parts, where it's just moving forward the whole time. And that was from my classical upbringing, I think. And then the song itself, it's just got this really cool melody to it, which I kind of stole from Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because, Rosemary's Baby was like, da, 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 da. I just straightened it out. Da, 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 like that. Maybe I should have said that.
The statute of limitations is over at this point.
But, from that. And, the whole song, I love how it culminates into the solo, which it's probably the hardest solo I've ever.
Really?
Yeah, because it's got all these tap-on octaves and 2-finger playing on different strings. It's tough. Ask Gus G. I remember he said that in an interview once. He went, "That's the hardest solo I ever had to play."
Yeah.
And not that makes it a good solo. I'm not saying, it's really hard. It's a good solo. But it is. It's a nice melodic solo. And I'd say, Killer of Giants, out of all the songs. Bark of the Moon's most catchy, most iconic.
Yeah.
Killer of Giants, most musical, I think.
Last question for you. Do you have a favorite memory of Ozzy from your time playing with him or at any point? Favorite story?
Well, there's the one where he's saying Old MacDonald, but I feel like I've already said that a couple
Well, I've never heard it. Tell me the story.
Okay. It was when I first joined, and we're doing a lot of Black Sabbath, and we're doing War Pigs in Europe, and it gets to just before the first verse, and I look at Ozzy, and Ozzy looks at me, and he's like, "What's the word?" Right? And I'm like, "Holy shit." I don't know. I know.
Right.
Generals gather.
Stage fright.
I know, but
Stage
putting me
block.
on the spot like that, I just I don't know. So he started singing Old MacDonald, and it worked so perfectly. Is that Old MacDonald had a farm. On his farm he had some pigs. With an oink oink here and an oink oink there. He did the whole verse like that. Everywhere there was an oink oink. Right? And I was cracking up. I looked in the front row, and everybody's like, "What's going on?" But I was cracking up. I look at Ozzy; he starts cracking up. He couldn't even sing the second verse, but I just loved it, and it worked so beautifully. I don't know if he had that as a backup plan all along in case he ever forgot lyrics. I'll sing Old MacDonald. But that was a good memory. That was a good laugh.
Well, once again, it's great that you got a chance to see him, and it's great that you're getting your chops back up again. Last thing, will you go back and on stage and play when you feel you're ready and do Red Dragon Cartel or do a Jake E. Lee thing?
When and if I feel I'm ready. Like it's a lot of work trying to retrain my right hand.
Sure.
It's not so bad if I'm just jamming myself or I'm writing new songs, which I have been doing. It's not so bad because it's, okay, this is the way you do it. Going back, Bark at the Moon, that's what, 40 odd years of playing it this way.
Yeah.
And now saying, no, you can't play it that way.
Right.
Retraining myself, it's a lot harder for stuff that I've already done. And I am getting better every day. I'm getting a little bit better every day. But until I feel like can reach a certain level at playing the older stuff, I'm not going to tour. I'm not going to plan. Yeah. I know now would be the time to strike.
Yeah.
Because my name is sort of on this little ride because of getting shot and then Birmingham. But I don't want to go out there and feel like half the guitarist I used to be. If I do go out and tour again, it'll be when I feel like I can do it again. And even then, I'm not going to say it'll be my last tour because I don't want to sound like Kiss or Motley Crue. But I'm not going to say it wouldn't be my last tour because last tour was tough. It was tough on my wrist. Hopefully, with the new playing technique, I can weather it better, but I still have a bad back. And that was a big thing on the last tour. I had to find a chiropractor every town I went to. Had to have a bus because we had tried touring in a van. And my back wasn't having any of that. So got to have a bus. That adds the expenses. We'll see. I want to. But I'm not going to until I know I can do it. And if I can't, I want the last thing that I did live to be that thing in Birmingham, because that would be a good memory.
Great talking to you, man. The legendary Jake E. Lee.
It's good. Oh, I'm supposed to look at the camera.
No, I'm just looking around.
All right. Thank you, Chris.